Good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ, and happy 10th Thursday of Ordinary Time. Today we celebrate the memorial of St. Barnabas. So St. Barnabas was a collaborator of St. Paul's. So on the one hand, today we remember and are very grateful to the fact that to be an apostle, to be an evangelizer, this is someone who collaborates and works with many others. St. Paul brings in St. Barnabas to help him out. And we know that St. Paul brought in many others as well, married men and women, single men, single women, to help him bring the good news of the gospel to the world. So he brings in St. Barnabas. And Barnabas' name means son of encouragement or son of consolation. And we know that St. Barnabas was certainly a voice of encouragement and consolation in the life of St. Paul, in the life of many others. For example, St. Paul at a certain point goes to Tarsus, and he kind of hides out there. And we're not sure what exactly was going on. Maybe he was experiencing some discouragement, or maybe a lack of clarity in what God's will for him was, now that he had converted to Christianity. Well, it's Barnabas who goes to Tarsus, and he really is this voice of consolation, this voice of encouragement. Barnabas sees that there's tremendous fruit to be reaped amongst the Gentiles, and he sees St. Paul as this beacon of light to go out to all the Gentiles. So thanks to St. Barnabas, he goes and gives this encouragement to St. Paul. And where would we be had St. Paul not really heeded that call and then went out and carried the gospel to the world? Another example, many Christians after the conversion of St. Paul were somewhat leery of him. Why? Because he had persecuted Christians for a long time. So St. Paul shows up at the Council of Jerusalem. And some of the others, the other apostles, they're testing out the waters with St. Paul. Well, it's St. Barnabas who gives testimony to the credibility and the legitimacy of St. Paul's conversion. Once again, he helps build unity. He helps be this voice of encouragement amongst the early Christians. Last example, when St. Paul goes on his first missionary journey, he brings St. Barnabas and he brings another evangelizer named John Mark with him. Well, at a certain point in this missionary journey, John Mark just throws in the towel. He abandons ship and he leaves them. Now, this really upset St. Paul. He was not happy about this at all, and it really caused him to look down upon John Mark. So much so that when the time came for his second missionary journey, Barnabas suggests that they take along John Mark. St. Paul says, not a chance. No way. He abandoned us last time. He is not coming on our second missionary journey. Ultimately, Barnabas will go and carry out a work of evangelization with John Mark. St. Paul will go off with others. There seems to be a division. There seems to be a rift. Well, at the end of St. Paul's life, we read in his letter to Philemon and also in his second letter to Timothy that he ultimately reconciles with John Mark. And John Mark is actually a tremendous collaborator of his in bringing the good news of the gospel to the world. I like to think that had a lot to do with Barnabas. Not giving up, being that voice for unity, that voice for consolation and encouragement. So brothers and sisters, we have a lot to learn from Barnabas. What a great saint, what a great collaborator, a voice of encouragement and consolation. May we be voices of encouragement and consolation in our world today where there is a lot of division and where the light of the gospel needs to be brought. Mother Mary, help us to be like St. Barnabas.